What if one decision changed the course of NBA history? In 2010, LeBron James made headlines and sparked controversy when he announced his departure from the Cleveland Cavaliers to join forces with Dwyane Wade and Bosh in Miami. This bold move not only enraged fans who felt betrayed, but also established a new paradigm in the league. For the first time, a player of LeBron's stature opted for a televised special to reveal his free agency decision, an event that captivated millions and drew both admiration and criticism. Historically, basketball legends like Michael Jordan and Magic Johnson had built their legacies by staying loyal to their franchises, often becoming synonymous with their teams. LeBron's decision to leave Cleveland, his hometown team, was perceived by many as a departure from this tradition, leading to accusations of egotism and self-interest. The spectacle of the decision transformed the narrative around player movement in the NBA, highlighting the growing power of athletes to shape their destinies. It marked a pivotal moment in sports history, where individual ambition began to take precedence over loyalty, forever altering the landscape of professional basketball. But this decision was more than just a personal choice. It represented a seismic shift in how players could navigate their careers. While unrestricted free agency had been a part of the NBA landscape since the late 1980s, it was often viewed as a privilege reserved for role players or those on the fringes of the league. The elite players, particularly superstars, were expected to remain loyal to their teams, adhering to an unwritten code that emphasized stability and commitment. LeBron's decision to leave the Cavaliers shattered this perception and challenged the long-standing norms where team owners wielded all the power. By taking control of his career in such a public manner, LeBron not only asserted his right to choose his own path, but also set a precedent for future generations of players. His name alone generated hundreds of millions in revenue for the league, and with that influence came the ability to dictate his future. This newfound autonomy allowed him to seek out the best opportunities, not just for himself, but also for his teammates, fundamentally altering the dynamics of player movement in the NBA. LeBron's move to Miami signaled to other players that they, too, could take charge of their destinies, forming super teams and collaborating with fellow stars to chase championships. This shift empowered athletes in a way that had never been seen before, encouraging them to prioritize their own aspirations over traditional loyalties. Ultimately, LeBron's decision was a catalyst for change, reshaping the landscape of professional basketball and redefining what it meant to be a star in the NBA. The reaction from Cleveland was visceral and immediate. Dan Gilbert, the owner of the Cavaliers, unleashed his fury in a now infamous open letter that shocked fans and observers alike. In this scathing missive, he branded LeBron a narcissistic coward, expressing his outrage and disappointment over the superstar's departure. Gilbert's words were laden with emotion, as he vowed that the Cavaliers would win an NBA championship before LeBron ever did again. This declaration, filled with bravado, reflected not just his anger, but also the deep sense of betrayal felt by many in Cleveland. Looking back, the choice of Comic Sans font in that letter almost seems fitting. It has since become a symbol of hubris and poor judgment, a reminder of how emotions can cloud rational decision-making. The letter has been widely mocked, serving as a cautionary tale about the perils of pride in the face of change. A decade later, the irony of Gilbert's words is palpable. LeBron has not only won multiple championships since leaving Cleveland, but also returned to the franchise that once felt so wrong, and led them to their first ever title in 2016. This victory was monumental, transforming the narrative from one of betrayal to redemption. It served as a testament to LeBron's legacy, demonstrating his ability to rise above the noise and fulfill his promise to bring a championship to his hometown. The contrast between Gilbert's fiery letter and the eventual triumph of LeBron with the Cavaliers highlights the unpredictable nature of sports and the enduring impact of player decisions on franchise histories. Ultimately, what began as a bitter rivalry evolved into a story of reconciliation, showcasing how time can change perspectives and heal wounds in the world of professional basketball. Yet, LeBron's journey to this point was paved by the struggles of earlier players. particularly Oscar Robertson, whose contributions to the game and the rights of players are often overshadowed in discussions about basketball history. Robertson, known for his extraordinary skills and versatility on the court, made headlines as the first player to average a triple-double over an entire season, a feat that showcased his all-around ability and set a standard for excellence in the league. However, his impact extended far beyond his on-court achievements. As a relentless advocate for player rights, Robertson recognized the challenges faced by athletes in an era when they had little control over their careers and livelihoods. He fought tirelessly against the oppressive conditions that players endured, advocating for fair treatment, better contracts, and the right to negotiate. His activism was instrumental in the formation of the Players' Union, which sought to give players a collective voice in negotiations with team owners. This was a radical concept at the time, as most players were treated as mere commodities, with little say in their professional lives. Robertson's efforts laid the groundwork for the fight for free agency, a battle that would ultimately reshape the landscape of the NBA. He understood that for players to gain power, they needed to unite and stand up against the established norms that favored team owners. His persistence in advocating for change not only improved conditions for his contemporaries, but also set a precedent for future generations of players, including LeBron James. The evolution of player rights can be traced back to Robertson's initiatives, which paved the way for the freedoms that modern athletes enjoy today. LeBron's ability to dictate his career path, make strategic decisions about his team affiliations, and leverage his influence for greater financial rewards can be seen as a direct result of the groundwork laid by pioneers like Oscar Robertson. Thus, while LeBron stands as a modern icon of player empowerment, it is essential to recognize the sacrifices and struggles of those who came before him, as they forged the path that allowed him, and many others, to thrive in the evolving world of professional basketball. In the 1960s, players like Oscar Robertson faced harsh conditions that starkly contrast with the benefits and rights professional athletes enjoy today. During this era, players were often treated as mere property of their owners, with little autonomy or influence over their careers. Contracts were typically one-sided, heavily favoring team owners, leaving players vulnerable to exploitation. The lack of guaranteed contracts and job security meant that athletes lived with constant uncertainty, knowing that their livelihoods could be terminated at any moment without recourse. This oppressive environment fueled Robertson's determination to fight for change. He recognized that the status quo was not only unfair, but also detrimental to the future of the sport and its players. As a trailblazer, he became increasingly vocal about the need for reform, advocating for better working conditions, fair compensation, and the right to negotiate contracts. His activism was not just about his own situation. It was about paving the way for all players who came after him. Robertson's efforts to organize players and push for a collective bargaining agreement were groundbreaking. He understood that individual players had limited power, but together, they could create a formidable force to challenge the existing power dynamics within the league. His determination resonated deeply, inspiring a generation of athletes to recognize their worth and advocate for their rights. The fight for change that Robertson championed would have lasting implications, influencing the trajectory of the NBA and the treatment of its players for decades to come. His legacy is evident in the current landscape, where players now have the ability to negotiate contracts, seek free agency, and advocate for their interests both on and off the court. The rights and privileges enjoyed by modern athletes are a testament to the struggles and sacrifices of pioneers like Oscar Robertson, whose relentless pursuit of justice and equality laid the foundation for a more equitable future in professional NAL sports. The creation of the American Basketball Association, ABA, in the late 1960s marked a crucial turning point in professional basketball. The ABA introduced a competitive landscape that empowered players by providing them with leverage to negotiate better contracts. This shift allowed athletes to explore their options and demand fairer treatment, contrasting sharply with the restrictive environment of the NBA at the time. When the NBA and ABA merged in 1976, it ushered in a new era where player rights began to take precedence over the traditional authority of team owners. This merger not only combined the best talent from both leagues, but also highlighted the need for reforms in player treatment and compensation. Oscar Robertson's testimony before the U.S. Senate further emphasized the systemic unfairness faced by players. His passionate advocacy for a future where athletes could negotiate freely resonated deeply, drawing attention to the necessity of change in the league. Robertson's efforts, alongside the competitive influence of the ABA, laid the groundwork for a more equitable system in professional basketball, ensuring that players would have a voice in their careers moving forward. As we look at the NBA today, it's clear that the landscape has transformed dramatically, largely due to the establishment of free agency. This pivotal development has empowered players like LeBron James to take control of their careers, allowing them to choose their teams and negotiate contracts that reflect their true value. This freedom was not easily won. It was hard-fought by pioneers like Oscar Robertson, whose relentless advocacy for player rights laid the groundwork for the modern era of professional basketball. While Robertson may not receive the same recognition as some of his more celebrated contemporaries, his influence on the game is undeniable. His efforts in the 1960s and 1970s helped to shift the balance of power from team owners to the players themselves, fostering an environment where athletes could assert their rights and pursue their ambitions. Today, the ability for players to move freely between teams and negotiate lucrative contracts is a testament to the struggles of those who came before them. Robertson's legacy lives on through the freedoms and opportunities that current players enjoy, highlighting the importance of his contributions to the evolution of the NBA. In conclusion, the intertwined legacies of LeBron James and Oscar Robertson serve as a testament to the evolution of player rights in the NBA. How different would the league be today without their contributions? Reflect on this as you consider the ongoing journey of athletes striving for equality and recognition in professional sports.